In the United States, two of the most prominent and influential scientific organizations are the American Association for the Advancement of Science and the National Academy of Sciences. These groups are largely influential in what is considered legitimate science and what is considered pseudoscience in America, and these two groups together compose what can be called the American scientific establishment, and they were the last organizations that could exert scientific authority over the Condon Report and the Air Force on whether UFOs were deserving of scientific study. We must understand these two groups, their history, and their influence if we want to understand the relationship between the American scientific community and UFOs. The first organization we will examine is the American Association for the Advancement of Science, or AAAS. Founded in Philadelphia in 1848, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, or AAAS, was the first permanent U.S. organization to promote the development of science and engineering at a national level, and this status, as the oldest national scientific organization in America, grants it immense influence. The stated goals of the AAAS are, quote, promoting cooperation among scientists, defending scientific freedom, encouraging scientific responsibility, and supporting scientific education and science outreach for the betterment of all humanity. The AAAS consists of member scientists from many different fields and universities, and AAAS members fall into two tiers: regular members and elected fellows. Any scientist in the country can join and become a regular member, but there were only a limited number of elected fellows, and being voted as one was a prestigious honor. One of the most important activities of the AAAS is their annual conference, in which scientists from all over the country would convene from diverse disciplines to present their most recent discoveries and discuss their concerns. The AAAS annual conference would become a mainstay of the American scientific community and would feature many important moments in the history of science in America. At the 1879 AAAS conference, Thomas Edison first revealed some of the key mechanisms of the light bulb to the scientific community. At the 1880 AAAS conference, Alexander Graham Bell presented his research and creation into the photophone, a precursor of the telephone, which transmits sound by light, and he also credited Mr. A.C. Brown's research into this field as well. At the 1929 AAAS conference, famed astronomer Edwin Hubble presented his paper on the expanding universe theory and the discovery of other galaxies. And at the 1934 AAAS conference, Albert Einstein would lecture for the first time before a U.S. audience. Many important and historic moments in science history have happened at the AAAS annual conference. Another very important activity of the AAAS is the publication of their scientific journal titled Science. This journal is one of the premier scientific journals in the world and still runs today. It allows scientists to publish their findings for other members of the scientific community to review. The AAAS also play a significant role in shaping scientific policy. Though separate from the government, the AAAS are politically active. The AAAS is headquartered in D.C., and its member scientists would partake in lobbying efforts. And the AAAS has programs that place its members on various government agencies like the State Department and on various congressional committees. And the AAAS would serve as a conduit of funds to different research projects across the country. As time would go on, the AAAS would have over 275 affiliate organizations, like the American Medical Association, the American Dental Association, the American Psychiatric Association, and many others. And if the AAAS rejected affiliate status to an organization, discipline would be deemed pseudoscience. The AAAS and their affiliate organizations would produce educational programs, first on the radio and then later on television. They created many TV programs designed to teach scientific concepts in the hopes of stimulating scientific understanding and development. That was a brief history of the AAAS. The next organization we need to understand is the National Academy of Sciences. The National Academy of Sciences is another prominent and influential scientific organization in the United States, and its founding can be traced back to the Civil War. During the Civil War, the federal government wanted to create a centralized scientific organization to be consulted by the government in matters of science and technology, and thus Congress created the National Academy of Sciences, or NAS. to serve the purpose of being the scientific organization for policymakers to use when needed. Unlike the AAAS, which was created by civilian scientists, the NAS was created by the government. The National Academy of Sciences Charter was signed by President Abraham Lincoln in 1863 and states, quote, "The Academy shall, whenever called upon by any department of the government, investigate, examine, experiment, and report upon any subject of science or art." One of the first assignments the federal government tasked the NAS was to create a compass that worked on the newly invented ironclad ships, as the iron of these ships interfered with compasses used on traditional sailboats. The NAS has been tasked with assessing forestry lands and helping establish the national park system. And President Woodrow Wilson called upon the NAS to assess U.S. military preparedness during World War I. The National Academy of Sciences has a set limit on number of members, making it more exclusive than the AAAS. And the National Academy of Sciences would also publish a journal entitled The Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Over time, the National Academy of Sciences would form a couple affiliate groups like the National Academy of Medicine, the National Academy of Engineering, and the National Research Council, all with similar goals of being tools for policymakers. The American Association for the Advancement of Science, the first national scientific organization founded by civilian scientists and having their historic annual science conferences and the publication of their journal, Science, and the National Academy of Sciences, founded by Congress during the Civil War as a scientific institution to serve policymakers. These two groups and their many affiliate organizations are the pillars of the American scientific community, with immense authority as to what is deemed science and what is deemed pseudoscience in America. The American Association for the Advancement of Science and the National Academy of Sciences have both accomplished amazing scientific feats over the years, but it is important to note that these organizations are not infallible and have admitted fault and reversed stances previously held as fact. An example of this can be found in the role that these two groups played in the promotion of eugenics. By studying the history of the AAAS, the NAS, and eugenics, we will be able to see the mechanisms by which the scientific establishment operates and influences policy. And by studying these groups and their history of embracing and then abandoning eugenics, we will also get to see that the American scientific establishment can change the status quo on a subject once considered scientific fact.